Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be taking a look at a proper high-level game of Beyond All Reason that was played quite recently here on Tartar Steppe, and today spawning as our our red Armada Commanders, off to a ripping start already. Brightworks learns his colors. We have an Armada Commander spawning right here in front of us, going to be leading the red team. It's a commander that goes by the name Orolani Zykas. There we go. There's the red commander's name, which, as far as I can tell, YouTube has not started censoring yet. At the very least, the maybe that auto-translate not quite working on it. I've been told this is a quite raunchy name, but as for right now, YouTube hasn't demonetized it, so I guess we're all good. Spawning on the other side of the map here as the blue Armada Commander, leading the blue team here in that Viking helmet. It's going to be none other than Nazah. Nazah with a fun name to say, clocking in at 43.38 open skill, and a previous tournament winner, as that hat may well indicate, and gonna be going for some Armada shenanigans as well. Gonna be playing right up here on the front line here of the blue team. Well, it's all front line on Tartar Steppe, but gonna be playing on the southern front line, going up against Irish Stud 14, Irish Stud 14, the orange commander on the other side here. If we take a quick look around Tartar Steppe, a beautiful map with loads and loads of trees for the reclaim and tons of metal spots, as we can see right here. We'll zoom back down into the ground level here to enjoy our orange commander's main base. Also an Armada commander, my goodness. Quite a few Armada commanders on the ground here today, as it does look like we're going to be going for a little bit of tick harassment early on to the game. Lovely stuff. Love seeing some of these ticks moving across the map here. Early on, a couple of ticks headed across can do tons and tons of damage, and especially on a map this wide, very cool to see. Now, after that last game that we covered, if you didn't go check out the last match, I'll say to go ahead and go check it out. It was definitely a little bit interesting. I was informed that apparently the small team OS is a little bit more flip-floppity than the large team OS. It's just not as cemented, so sometimes OS numbers get inflated. I was also informed that apparently some of those commanders were not trying as hard as they wanted to, or as they could have. Always funny whenever you hear that in an online game, right? You know, I wasn't even trying. Imagine fighting me if I was even trying. Sort of feels like what we're hearing. But anyways, what we've got today should be an absolute proper high-level match because, well, I recognize a whole bunch of these players, and I know that they're good. And certainly the amount of, well, tournament winnings on each of these teams here. What is going on? Losing control of my cameras right here as the harassment does get defended quite nicely. Ooh, even the Resbots survive. For the Green Commander, Bacon Dude, 1786.5, or, let me see here, 17,865. Had to really think it through on that. Oh, one rover slips through and turns around immediately. Okay. That one might have been able to do some damage, or at the very least get a proper scout. We do also have some rascals on the other side of the map here for the Cyan Commander. That's going to be Admos, the 36 open skill Canadian hero, sending a couple of those little light laser buggies across the field to try and do some damage. Citizen's Arrest as one of those gets eaten up here by the Constructor. The other, though, will still manage to kill the partially built metal extractor there. Nice aggression so far here from both of these teams, honestly, but doing a little bit more is the blue team. Actually achieving a little bit more, yeah. Suffice it to say that getting damage and almost getting damage, well, one of those outcomes is ever so slightly better. Also a wonderful thing to scout. Of course, you know where your enemy is going to spawn in an 8 versus 8, but always good to confirm, for instance, where those wind turbines are going to be, right? Where the solar panels are going to be. Any of these eco structures are going to be super important to try and locate. That way you know in the future, in case you had to go for a little bit of bombing, where they're actually going to be located at. Continued run by aggression here, though. We do have the rovers continuing to probe for weak points in the defense here. I don't mind it. Nazah, okay, in position to blast that one down, and it looks like the other rover will be cleaned up as well. So far, an excellent defense here from the blue team. Yeah, managing to keep all of these pesky early scouting units off of their front lawn, sending them right on back to their maker. Mostly Joysko, the maker of most of these units. 41 open skill, silver chevrons as well, and I mean, if the chevron count and the OS count on the left-hand side doesn't say anything, certainly the multiple... Oh no, I guess Nazah is the only tournament winner here. I could have swore that Zykas was actually a tournament winner as well. Apparently not. There is going to be a tournament this weekend, by the way. If you're watching this the day that it comes out, let me think. This will come out on a Thursday. If you're watching this the day it comes out, there will be a tournament this Saturday. It will be the, I believe it's the 26th. Yeah, 26th of this month of, what are we, in July now? The time flies, huh? Somebody was telling me about 2 years ago. They were watching Brightworks 2 years ago, and I really had to go back and double check because I was like, wow, has it really been 2 years? It really has. 2 years of the Brightworks. Huge shout out to all you who are following from the very beginning. Feels like we've come such a long way, and it also still feels like there's such a long way to go. I'm super excited about the future of this channel. Loads of plans for how to increase things, but I just need a little bit more time to dedicate towards the channel, and don't you worry. Time there shall be plenty eventually. For now, though, we're going to keep checking out awesome games. As the meta unfolds here, so far the very most popular meta has been going for a big old bot start, usually using those bots to eat up a bunch of the trees here. You can see all the areas where there's trees are where there's bot players. And then on the northern side here and the southern side, we have vehicle players. So the purple commander are going to be playing vehicles here. Interestingly, Training Dummy going to be going for bots and is going into some of those heavy Centurion. They're an interesting unit, actually just one Centurion, the rest are maces. Centurion are really, really interesting. They can be... They have a really weird role. Basically, if you get a huge advantage early on, you can use Centurion to press the advantage further. One of the ways that works is essentially you make 10 of them after you kill an enemy commander, or if you kill the enemy army and reclaim it all, you just make 10 Centurion and push to either kill the commander or just go all the way through to the back line, try and kill the laboratory. Typically, you can make a bolt stretch, and if you have the res bots for it, you can push all the way to their lab, reclaim all that, and it leapfrogs you into T2, and then you just eat up all your T1 units, and it pays for your T2 really, really nicely, while also eliminating your competition. Very similar strategy for Legion players. We don't have any this game, but for Legion commanders, if you've ever gone for anything like a Decurion push, you'll be well familiar with that sort of a strategy, where effectively you win a big sum of metal, and you just dump it into those heavy tanks and try and do the biggest push you can with it. Dronset doing a great job of degunning down these LLTs while they're still coming up here. Big commander trade for the blue and powder blue and red commanders, right in the midsection of the map. Wonderful stuff. All of a sudden, the red commander is well and away in control of this midsection here. We have a couple of thugs coming out from, looks like our powder blue hero, Turned Cannon. Not Turd Cannon, Turned Cannon.
Commander has
Make sure you get that one right, because that's, yeah, that's a tricky one. Big old engagement here as the pawns collapse on each other here, too. The pawn armies moving forward are having a wonderful time. So far, an excellent defense. It looks like we mostly pushed all this back. But I love the teamwork right there from the red team. Yeah, being aware of their teammate who's actually pushing forward, trying to combine those superpowers. Anonyx is going to go ahead and reclaim some of this and will send out the degun. Okay, gets the advantage by eating a whole bunch of the metal and then degunning the rest to deny it here to town. So it was a little bit of trouble. Those missile trucks are firing away. The pawns obviously counter the missile trucks. Not sure why these are still moving in. All said and done, not the end of the world. Okay. Front lines here looking relatively stable as well, as the blue team has pushed pretty far forward here. There's a big lull in the midsection right now. The Maroon Commander, whether they know it or not, has the opportunity to do a huge run-by. Not much static defense in the middle right here where Towns is playing. Eventually those units will move back into position, but a lot of them were shifted upwards. I would have loved to see a couple of blitzes or incisors moving in that direction. Aggression on the southern side here for King 6 is looking pretty bad as well. The thugs have managed to whittle down a bunch of these vehicles, and I suspect that Dronset has done a wonderful job of reclaiming a bunch of these units, or at the very least taking very efficient fights. One of the things about Janus is if you can kill them before that they scale up into, 4, 5, 6 of those Janus, essentially the numbers where they can start sniping commanders, then you can actually just reclaim them and have a wonderful time, and that's exactly what we're seeing right here from the Lavender Commander on the southern side of this map. Very, very lovely play. Here's that big run-by we were looking for. The red commander went all the way up to T2 with the greed from the teammates sharing all that metal over to the commander. I mean, it wasn't greed. It was well-earned metal. But yeah, will all of a sudden be discovered. Now, will we be using these blitzes to kill the T2 lab? The answer is no. Strategically speaking, that is a hot spot right there. You need to kill this T2 laboratory, deny that T2 tech here. Killing the T2 constructor is huge as well. But I guess we're going to actually just settle for killing the base in the backline. Okay. I mean, I don't mind it, right? This is a ton of eco that we're taking down. All these E-converters popping are going to chain react into the wind turbines, making them a lot easier to kill as well. And it's not like this isn't a huge hit to the economy. That's tons and tons of wind turbines falling, or it should be anyways. The Blitz is not terrible at killing the wind turbines. Pawns included in the mix here as well. Yeah, can we focus on... we've sort of distributed this damage, spread it across two different commanders. I think it would have been quite a bit more effective if we had just decided to kill the red commander outright. You know what? There's the Geo up and running too. This hit is not nearly as bad as it looked on paper. Losing the mexes sucks, but you know how you can replace that mex? You just build a T2 mex. We're nearly done with the first T2 mex, and that's already going to pay for the lost mexes in the backline. Incisors in the back here as well, going to continue blasting away. Okay, there we go. Well, it does die to the metal extractor, but so far, frankly, I would say that was probably the biggest opportunity right there for the blue team we've seen so far. And I don't think they really managed to capitalize on it. Borf now in a little bit of trouble. Loads of resurrected pawns moving forward. Can we snipe the commander or the HLT? Neither will be the choice here today. Borf gonna casually leisurely go for some D-guns here against some of these units, moving the medium tanks around to intercept. But all said and done, those targets, or those units did not choose a target right there, so they will end up not getting either of them. Trading down, suffering heavily here as the riot tanks are extremely difficult to push into. You can see those very scuffed up units right now. We have the Mesas waddling their way back home. Battle scarred, but also extremely battle damaged. With authentic battle damage, they make their way towards the front line. Anybody get that reference? Man, I feel like that's almost like a dated reference, isn't it? That's a classic right there. If you get that one, leave the comment down below. May as well like and subscribe while you're lingering around down there. Don't know what you're doing down in that section other than commenting, but you may as well hit the button. Doesn't take too long. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of big notifications all over on my screen, so I always turn the notification bell off. But you can still subscribe and just not get any of the notifications, but it does put bar on more and more front pages, and that's pretty cool. So far, though, a perplexingly even game. If we zoom out all the way to the macro scale here, you can see, I mean, this is basically dead even. The blue team and red team on it, nearly perfect parallels. Yeah, we have Bacon Dude pushing with those T2 units, but we have T2 to counter it. All of a sudden, we have Mausers on both lines, firing away. Wonderful, huge arc right here, actually, for the orange and yellow commanders. A little bit of a double-fronted push right here. Means that this is the time for LAZOR to start moving forward while these units are a little bit distracted from this front line. But it's not like there's an easy way to do it. So many LLTs set up right here by Irish Stud's commander. This is essentially the brakes to put on this army right here so it can't push forward through this area. They have to take the fight against the T2, and those Mauser are more than happy to rip and tear through those T1 ranks until it is done. Lightning tanks here are going to be phenomenal as well. Yep, you can see they blast away those pawns with brutal efficiency. Anytime the Quakers fire, they do a ton of damage, friendly or otherwise. Yeah, all said and done. Push doesn't manage to do too much. Eventually, some of the Mauser here are killed for the yellow commander. Losing a couple of those in the front does hurt because you're effectively in a mirror matchup where having more units is pretty much going to determine who the winner is. We also have a bull in the front line, quite useful for shutting down those commanders. 28%, ooh, we're getting real low. 8%, boom, goes the yellow commander. Well, that's a huge snipe right there. That commander was not only producing a whole bunch of radar vision, but also, of course, threatening with that D-gun, which does pose a significant risk to these nearly $1,000 tanks. All of a sudden, with that cleaned up, it does mean that Bacon Dude has a huge opportunity right here. The bulls are going to be effectively uncontested at this point in the game. The medium tanks are decent, but not going to be quite enough here. Those bulls, as you can see, just shredding the medium tanks here. Not to mention, oh, killer D-guns. Hey, not bad. Bacon Dude maybe not paying attention, though. Ooh, oh, hey, well. Bacon Dude maybe not paying attention for just a second longer than he should have. And all of a sudden, yeah, look back at the economy or something and ended up losing the commander in the front. If we can reclaim all this metal, it's a joint win. Or a total sum win, I would say, for the green commander, who does have possession over the map at this point. It is solidly in Bacon Dude's control on this southern side of the map. Flip the camera 180 degrees. I'm loving this new camera, by the way. This is the first match I'm trying to cast with the new, or not new, but with the spring cam specifically. Really enjoying the optics from this one. Let me know what you think about it down below as well. A second reason to comment. Look at that. The engagement bait is already soaring through the roof. Love it. Quakers are so brutal. Quaker's another one of those units that when you see on the front line, you just have to start quaking your baby seal leather boots because they are totally tubular. They're super powerful. Their AoE is insane. They also do a little bit of impulse, so if they directly hit one of these tanks, they can actually stun it in its tracks, which is, in and of itself, very useful for artillery pieces, because if you have more than one, stunning an enemy unit means that its location is locked, and then suddenly 4 more shots can echo out of those thunderous, resounding cannons. Still, though, the medium tanks are roaring forward. The Stouts alongside the Brutes, Corps and Armada, working hand in hand. They've put aside their differences here to ruin the Cyan Commander. Now we're going to need something on the front to battle, to skirmish. It's going to be Tiger tanks. Tigers are, like, effectively a T1.8 unit. They're a heavy tank for sure. They've got the HP of a heavy tank, but they just don't do very much more damage. They effectively do double the damage of a regular tank because they have 2 guns. Yeah. Cortex said, well, if 1 gun good, why not 2 gun? And it's not the wrong idea. It's a very Cortex idea. We've got a huge run by the way. Lightning tanks managing to find a whole bunch of E-converters in the green base. Chain reacting well into the energy production. E-energy production. Metal extractors, a little shy on the fronts here. Jaguar tank's not quite done yet either. Okay. They'll be a little bit misrallied here, so they will choke up and not quite move forward to kill any more of these mixes, but certainly a nice little run by. At the very least, pulling a huge portion of this army out of position. My goodness, that is several thousand metal worth of medium tanks. 4,000, nearly 5,000 metal worth of medium tanks ripped away from that front line right there is brutal. Mauser moving forward once more. We have the console reclaiming a bunch of metal from the front. This is ideal. In fact, this is necessary. If you're not reclaiming your vehicles, you're losing way too much metal. You're going to bleed out too quickly. Super necessary to have this on the front line. Probably the most necessary part of this composition here. However, Yellow Commander has gone into just one of those very powerful Starlights. This is the meta currently. I've been teasing around this for the entire game here. The meta currently is to go into as many Starlights as you can possibly afford. They're very energy dense. However, if you can get them out on the field, they can be pretty much unstoppable as long as you support them properly. You only need about 4 or 5 Starlights in order to start your push, and all you have to do after that is spam out enough ticks to provide enough vision and produce enough lightning tanks and bulls and all the rest of it to accompany those so that some of the slightly heavier units can't get past the tick waves. And after that, the Starlights will pretty much take care of anything else. Anything heavy enough to cause trouble will be melted by their laser beams. And, of course, anything fast and lightweight will be destroyed by the Jaguars or the ticks themselves as they come out of the laboratory here, if you produce them in enough quantity. Yellow Commander not quite ready to tease into Starlights any further here, though. We have one on the field, but it's not quite enough. It's a big enough standing army that neither the blue or green commander can push on their own. There we go. We do have counter Starlights coming out. Yeah, we've gotten mass production on the Starlights, and I think that's the right move. Once you see Starlights, you have to go Starlights is kind of the idea. You basically can't be beat on the Starlight game. Very similar to Air, which, by the way, we do have coming across the field at this point. Loads of these T1 bombers making their way across, looking for a target. Do we have any kind of anti-air? We do have AA trucks coming out of the lab right now, rushed out by the green commander. The, well, scout plane will be shot down. That's quite nice. Ooh, do we have enough to shut this down? Oh, I don't know. The bombs are away. Laboratory in jeopardy. Oh, just barely the lab goes down. Oh, it goes to a wreck, too. Wow, I can't believe those managed to break it down to a wreck. There really was not very many bombers. I'm super surprised. Okay, well, a couple of bombers, i.e. a single bomber, actually, manages to make it into the backline. It'll start dropping its payload on a bunch of wind turbines and E-converters. Honestly, not bad targets already for the bomber. But that was a wonderful snipe right there. Removing the T2 laboratory puts a huge dampener on this front line. All of a sudden, the Starlights you see are the Starlights you get. One Starlight down. Can't lose them like that. If you lose those Starlights, you've effectively lost the match. This mirror matchup really does depend on who can get enough of those Starlights out to counter the enemy's bulls, and then allow the light tanks, the Jaguar tanks, to move forward and kill the Starlights here. Both commanders running very, very low on frontline units, but the green commander runs out first. Ooh, okay, the bull does fall. However, tick spam. Tick spam is the name of the game. Ooh, beautiful explosion right here. There it is. Starlights, not quite self-destruct. They explosively detonate whenever they die. Switching on over to this northern fight, we've still got medium tanks. My goodness, big old EMP must have gone off on these Sheldon. A bunch of them damaged, but not dead. Bunch of medium tanks causing issues right here. Welders are technically the responsible unit to make against those. It's just kind of a wet noodle fight. Both of them have tons of HP. Neither of them can really kill each other. Lightning tanks scrolling forward slowly but surely. Yeah, careful to avoid the commander's D-guns right there.
Died.
The long-range Mauser will blast it to smithereens.
Commander
Now the Jaguars are into the front backline. We need to take this lab down. At least all the build power. If we can break the build power, it does mean that the laboratory will, effectively be useless. Well, we're trying, but there's so much repair. Yeah, they don't have it. Oh no, Starlight pops and the Quakers fall as well. There's enough build power here. Oh, we didn't target the build power. That is a blunder right there. Oh. Maroon Commander falls there as well to the Sheldon ball that's marching forward. Yeah, they didn't target the build power. Nice spacing on the build power, by the way. That does keep it from chain reacting, which makes it really, really difficult to kill. You have to be super on top of your micro in order to kill this build power here. Really super duper annoying. Bulls here finally going to be able to blast some of it away. Every one of these towers that go down is worth it. He is only one with brain. Please kill him. Pretty funny. Oh, just barely the lab finally goes down. A tremendous cost has to be paid in order to do it. At the very least, the build power does start to fall here as well. We need to see the rest of this go down. If this build power stays up and running, this actually isn't as bad of a situation as it seems. We do have some static defenses coming up here. Beamer turret. The console's trying to set up as many of these statics as possible. What a siege through the middle of the map. My goodness. 3 commanders contributing their colors to trying to break this middle position. That is the risk that you run building a lab this far forward. It becomes the focal point of enemy aggression. At this point, the correct response here would be for the Maroon Commander to start putting on a whole bunch of pressure on the northern side. Same for the Brown Commander. If we just started applying pressure up here, it pulls Atmos off. If the Pink Commanders, or the, well, yeah, Pink Commander moves north and the Orange Commander moves north, basically everybody shuffles north. They also start applying a bunch of pressure. It forces these units back. Basically what I'm saying is that the red team needs to act now to save their dearest red commander. Otherwise, things are going to get really, really rough. Now, there is a big run-by on this northern side. In fact, a killer run-by. It's good old-fashioned medium tanks. You love them, you hate them. They're in your backline. It's the Brute. Fat Boy coming out of the laboratory will not complete here, or at least it shouldn't. The medium tanks, well, they're actually moving into the back here. I feel like we're a little disjointed on what this attack is meant to accomplish here. They're going after the,
Commander destroyed.
What are they going after? I guess they're going after the metal extractor and the wind turbines. There were slightly better targets here. I think maybe popping the build power, if we even could have killing the laboratory, would have been the right move here. The Fat Boy does indeed get birthed, actually, so it will hit the field. Ooh, not before hitting its own base ever so slightly there, though. Okay. Eventually, all this is cleaned up. And you know what? Enough build power remains here. I'm going to say this probably wasn't a successful run-by. Despite all that damage, despite all the mexes down, as long as these turn into T2 mexes relatively soon, it's not going to be the end of the world right here for Training Dummy. Yeah. Fighters sent to help the Red Commander will eventually get cleared out, or I should say the gunship sent to help the Red Commander will be cleared out. Resbot's trying to patch all this up. I frankly think they probably should have just gone ahead and eaten all this. If they'd eaten all this metal and just handed it back to one of these commanders with a T2 lab, they could have produced enough units to stop all this. But there we go. Bacon Dude. With the push right through the southern section. All of a sudden, we're into a really rough spot right here where the Yellow Commander kind of doesn't have a way out of this. Like, no matter what you build, there's not a lot of things that you can really do to come back into this part of the game. One of the few things that can be really effective is the Paralyzer, the EMP missile launcher. If you can land an EMP missile right on top of a bunch of these units, you can end up, well, winning the day. Very tricky to do, though, and of course, with Starlight's mere inches away from the main production center, very, very risky proposition. Reinforcements here are going to help clean a bunch of this up, though. Wow. Did we actually defend against that? Oh, no. Green Commander actually, yeah. Little bit raw about the way that this southern side turned out. Medium tank's going to roll forward, getting cluttered on the debris, though. Oh, no. Not the fight that we were hoping for. Medium tanks plus Starlights. Wonderful composition. Very difficult to deal with. Medium tanks after Starlights. Kind of floppy. Pitbulls here trying their best as well, trying to put on the hurt as much as possible. Starlight will go down. Another Pitbull comes up, though. That's going to help blast some of these units down even quicker. Pitbulls are pretty good at killing these medium tanks. Oh, here's the bomber wave. Beautiful bomber wave coming across right here. A wonderful strafing run as we just deploy bombs across the surface area of the Yellow Commander. Are we doubling back? Yeah, we are. We're just going to go for everything. Rather than a focus strike, we're just going to try and blow up everything in this radius, and I think it's probably the right move. T2 Laboratory does go down. Can we go back in for another one? We're going to go for the fusion reactor? Yeah, we sure are. It's worth it. Worth killing that fusion reactor here. That puts the Yellow Commander out of the game for a good long while. And just like that, this push, I will say, is well saved. Nicely done by the Blue Commander. Keeping an eye out on positions that might be abusable here. Positions that are a little bit weaker. Just open enough that they can get some damage done. Now we have the Orange facility in a lot of trouble here. Again, bombs away across the entire surface area of the base. Taking out loads of wind turbines here. Again, the Pink Commander is vulnerable as well. I love these strafing runs. That's exactly what the Armada T1 bombers are meant for. Taking out these wide area bases where all the wind turbines are spread out, all the build power is spread out. That's what these are good for, bombing a huge wide open area. Eventually, it looks like most of this is going to be cleaned up. We do have an anti-air that's been set up, some flak trucks rolling out as well. Most of the bombers are shoot away here. Ooh, on the build. Oh, we get the build power. That's brutal. Hot Pink Commander loses the build power right there. Suddenly this is going to take forever to rebuild. We need to start up more build power immediately. Red Commander resurrected back from the dead and going to be going ahead going into T3. We have an Agio, a very, very weak Agio on the front line here. We're reclaiming and resurrecting and doing all the rest that we can to keep this front line alive. We've got the T2 Mexas resurrected here as well. You know what? Fusion Reactor's still standing. For a commander that was completely and utterly dead just mere moments ago, this actually has ended up being a relatively powerful base. Yeah, I will say. We've sort of funneled all our resources into this commander, into saving the red commander, and it ended up being like a over-investment. And now it looks like Orlani will have, well, a whole bunch more eco to spend. Pitbull's firing away right here. They are going to be connecting with a bunch of these heavy tanks, which is wonderful. Exactly the target they need to be connecting with. The ticks here are going to cause an issue, though. We need beamer turrets. Yeah, we are queuing them up. Little too late, though. Yeah, Starlights have been resurrected. No, not resurrected. Reproduced, actually. And beamer turrets set up, but just a little bit too late. Starlight's melting the defenses. Nicely done. A close call right here. This could have turned very sour after the loss of that first army. Luckily for the bombing run from the blue commander, it made a fabulous air switch, and now it means the yellow commander's base is in shambles. Bomber's not done, by the way. There is still more bombers tearing apart, well, whatever they can find. Looks like a geothermal has gone down to this northern side. We have no anti-air available, though. Kind of tragic. This isn't necessarily a map where you would normally have an air commander, so yeah, I'm gonna say probably each commander responsible for their own air in this sort of a situation. Building a couple of AA, either static emplacements or those AA trucks. Either one works. How about buying one from your teammate? How about buying a couple of AA trucks for your teammate? That feels like a worthwhile move. Bulls right here clumped up, so they will, well, both of these sets of bulls clumped up, so they'll both suffer the AoE effect. Starlight's in the back, tearing apart the statics before the bulls ever even have to deal with them, though. And then, of course, the ticks providing all the line of sight vision for all the static and in-placed buildings that the Starlights want to eagerly destroy. Okay. The advantage has been found. Razorbacks on the front line, but they haven't found their value yet. Shiva rolling out of the lab, and the Zars are going to be difficult to kill, too. We have more Starlights available to block all this. Okay. It's become a race. The red commander looking for a vulnerability to push on through. The green commander looking to end this game. Pitbulls on the front line turning their heads backwards and firing into their own base here. Metal extractors, build power, all the rest of it going down. This is the second time the Hot Pink Commander's build power has fallen here. Frustrating to rebuild it a third. The T2 lab falls, and now the medium, or the heavy tanks, pardon me, do make their way towards the fusion reactors, the wind turbines, the metal extractors, all that juicy eco that keeps the Hot Pink Commander afloat. What a static defense array we've gone for on this side. Just taking a second to appreciate that before we zip on back to the green commander. You guys have scroll and mouse. Complaining that the team isn't looking at the map, when frankly speaking, it was a wonderful amount of teamwork to actually keep all this alive and running on the southern side. There was loads of teamwork to keep that base survivable, to resurrect it from the dead and keep it alive. Unfortunately, production and the bombing run paid off. The red team reacted, the blue team reacted just as well. Managed to make sure that that push went through, regardless of the fact that it flubbed out for just a second there. With the reclaim as well, going to be skyrocketing the metal through the roof right here. It's absolutely a tremendous advantage for our blue team that's now pushing through on the southern side. Abductors moving in for some reason. Not entirely sure why we're sending the abductors in, but we do have the bombs away. Nuclear bombers looking for targets. There is a juicy T3 laboratory right up there on the front line. Build power goes down first to make sure no AA can come up. And then I suppose the follow-up bombers. Oh, I'm going to go after the AGO. Nope, go after the T3. T2 lab goes down. Not sure why we've neglected this T3. Did we scout it? Yeah, we've certainly seen it. Curious choice right there from the blue commander. Maybe just a little preoccupied, microing all sorts of stuff. But now the red facility has officially collapsed as the ground forces swarm over it. So it'll run by again on this northern side. Yeah, you know what? These continued run-bys might have had a difference. If these units had turned southwards and done a bunch more damage to the bases over here, this could have won from the northern side. Not that it really matters as the blue team sweeps up from the south, but this over-investment in static defenses, I think, really is what killed it. What a huge advantage the tank commander had for the longest time, and didn't put it into units, didn't use it to win this northern lane right here. Also, that focus, allowing the entire blue team to focus in on the red commander's T2 laboratory right there, certainly put a hamper on the red team's economy. And it will mean the blue team manages to eke out a victory. Beautiful game of Beyond All Reason. We've got teamwork, we've got beautiful bombing runs, we've got all sorts of lovely stuff.
Self-destructed.
And at the end of the day, our blue heroes will take the victory. Thanks a ton for watching, and I sure hope you, of course, enjoyed. And if you did, for the third time today, feel free to hit that like or dislike button and subscribe to the Brightworks for daily Beyond All Reason casts. And I hope to see you again in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.